Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Nature Center. We're here for another live naturalist chat, and today we're going to be talking about animals in the fall, and they're getting ready for winter and what some of their strategies are. So when we think about animals this time of year, you might think about birds flying south, you might think about bears hibernating, and you might be thinking, well, some of the animals we just won't see this time of year. And where do they go? What do they do? So here in Alabama, we actually have pretty nice weather compared to other places. And so not all animals actually do true hibernation here in Alabama. And also some animals that when you think about birds that migrate, some birds actually stop here along the way and they decide this is as far south as they need to go. That's why we have winter bird species here, is because they might decide that this is as far south as they need to go. Others will continue and they'll leave and they'll go further south, or some animals just have very unique ways to survive the winter. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So whenever you think about animals in winter, you often think about hibernation. And when you think about hibernation, you usually think about bears. So we have a bear skin here. This is the American black bear. And here in Alabama, we do have black bears. Most of our breeding population of black bears is found in the Mobile area and up in northeast Alabama. So we have two kind of pockets of bear population here in Alabama. And sometimes you see that there's a bear that's been found in the middle of the state, and it might be a young black bear, a young male that's decided to go looking for his own home range, and so he might wander through the middle of the state. But generally, the actual established populations are in those two areas of Alabama, down south and up in the northeast of Alabama. So that's where we have most of the bears. Now, when you think about bears down south, like in Mobile, and bears maybe in Florida, because Florida has their own population of bears, you don't really think about them hibernating. They don't really need to. But they can, especially the further north you go, you're going to hear about bears that hibernate. So we all know bears, they eat a lot of food and things, getting ready for winter. But bears are not really true hibernators in the sense that there's a couple of different ways you can back. I think we had a little blip in our internet connection. Hopefully we're good to go. So bears have a different strategy than some of the other animals we're going to talk about today. So bear strategy is to eat up a lot of food, be able to have a thick fur and a nice layer of fat to help insulate it, and go find a nice place. It could be something that's dug out. It could be a cave, it could be some natural debris, and they're going to find a den, and they're going to curl up in there, and their body temperature is going to lower, but it's not going to lower too much. Not what we say true hibernators, their temperature lowers. So black bear might have a body temperature of 88 degrees, versus some true hibernators can lower their body temperature all the way to 40 degrees. So a black bear can still wake up if it needs to. And it might wake up if there's danger nearby. It might wake up and go to a new den site. And some black bears will change den sites over the course of the winter. But they're not going to lower a crazy amount. And they're going to be burning off that fat. And they don't have to wake up. So they can stay up to 100 days of sleeping in this deep sleep we call hibernation. Now, other animals, like some of the other animals that I have to show you, are what we call true hibernators. So true hibernators are animals like chipmunks. And I have a picture of a nice sleeping chipmunk. Chipmunks, ground squirrels, deer mice, and woodchucks are all some of our true hibernators. And I've got a picture of a woodchuck or a groundhog. These are true hibernators. They're the ones that I talked about. They can lower their body temperature extremely low, and their body temperature can go down to about 40 degrees, and they lower everything. They lower their metabolic rate, they lower their heart rate. I've got some cool facts just for us today, in that their let's see, it's their breathing, which can lower. So a chipmunk normally can breathe, or it's their heart rate. A chipmunk's heart rate is 350 beats per minute normally, but during hibernation it goes down to 4 beats per minute. 4 beats per minute. So that's how much their body has just changed. It's all shut down. Now, the flip side is during this state, they're going to have to get up. They're going to, every few days, they're going to get up, they're going to eat something, they're going to need to go to the bathroom, and then they can go back into this state. It takes them a long time to wake up, though. So it puts them at a disadvantage. If a predator comes by, they can't wake up as quickly. So animals like our flying squirrel, another animal that hibernates in this area, it takes about 40 minutes for it to wake completely up so that it can do whatever it needs to do. So flying squirrels like to go in cavities, tree cavities and things like that, and they're going to curl up and go to sleep in those places. Animals like a woodchuck, like we talked about before, it's kind of cool because a woodchuck can be found hibernating in the same locations as squirrels, or ground squirrels, raccoons, possums. They all might enter this torpor state together, and they might den up in the same location, which is kind of hard for me to imagine them all finding a good spot, but I guess a good spot's a good spot. When you think about some animals, if you've watched Bambi, you might have known about the skunk that hibernates, and so some skunks, they are considered a light hibernator, so they don't quite go down to that deep state, but they'll enter this torpor state of light hibernation, where they'll kind of go into a den and they'll use their metabolism will drop and things like that, but their body temperature doesn't go down too far. We've talked about bats. So bats hibernate too, and so they like to roost in certain areas. And we think about bats in a cave, and we do have caves in Alabama, and they do have bats that live in those caves. They might also roost under the bark of a tree or something like that, or a cavity, and any place, or even a man-made structure that they can find, and that's where they're going to go hibernate and spend the winter. So when we think about all this hibernation, we think about it as a byproduct of an animal not being able to have the resources that it needs. So it could be that food's not available, it could be just a way to sleep away the winter until everything's back and bountiful again. It could be just to deal with the cold. But let's talk about a different strategy besides hibernation. So when we think about reptiles, unlike our mammal friends here, our mammal friends are warm-blooded animals. So they have a metabolism that works to be able to keep them warm, and they can deal with changing temperatures. But when we talk about our reptile friends, they're cold-blooded. So it means that when it's 30 degrees outside, a reptile's body temperature is going to be about 30 degrees too. So they don't have a choice in being how their body is going to react to the temperature. So their strategy, it's not really a voluntary strategy, but it's that they slow down. Everything about them slows down. And so usually when the days are shortening and the temperature is starting to drop, they're going to find a nice place to go snuggle up, and it's mostly just a safety thing. So insulation is nice, so that's why they'll either go under the ground or in some debris, and we'll show you an example of that here in a minute. But they're going to be insulated, and basically they're letting their entire body shut down. Now, a difference in a reptile versus some of our deep hibernators is that when it warms up, they warm up too. And that's why you might see a lizard sunning itself in the middle of January. Because here in Alabama, you know we're going to have a warm day in January. And so those animals can come on out, sun themselves up, warm up, go eat something, go drink something, and then when it cools down, their body slows down again. So they're not using metabolism in the same way our mammals are. So let's go look real quick at our box turtles, because here at the Alabama Nature Center, our box turtles do natural brumation. So this is our box turtle habitat, and as you can see, we have piled the leaves up because these leaves are going to be their insulation. We have some wood and some hides underneath the leaves. A lot of them are curled up under there, or they might just be under the leaves. So in the wild, a box turtle would go into the woods. It would bury itself down. The top of its shell might just be flush with the top of the soil, and the leaves would fall and bury it. And so our box turtles, on a warm day, some of them were out this morning, and now it seems like they're getting ready for night again, so they're going to go hide. And that insulation is going to help protect them, but still their body temperature is dropping substantially. Now when it's warm, they warm back up. They may come in and get some food in their little pavilion we have here for them. They're going to get some water, and then they're going to go right back to burying themselves under all the leaf litter. Now, why do we let them brumate? Well, it's a natural cycle. It's part of how they are able to be healthy. So in times where we have kept our box turtles warm and inside all winter, they haven't done very well. This is a natural part of their life cycle, and so we found that we have healthier box turtles when we leave them out here to do what they're supposed to do, which is spend the winter going through those cycles of brumation. Now, the flip side is our gopher tortoises are not out right now. So if you come by looking for them, when it's cold, you're not going to see them. They've gone inside, and that's because in the wild, they would build a really deep, long tunnel, and they would use that as their insulation. Well, we have actually around the perimeter of their habitat, we have grates that go down so they can't dig out, and it doesn't allow them to build a deep enough tunnel to be able to be safe. And so we keep them inside during the winter, and they don't go through brumation, and they seem okay with that. All your other animals, think about your snakes and some salamanders and frogs and things like that, they go through this similar brumation. It's because they're cold-blooded. They can't make their own body heat, and so their body temperature is very subjected to different waves according to the natural climate outside. Now, let's go back and talk about what you can do in your yard. So, if you look out back, especially if you look in the woods and things like that, you see that there's a natural debris piled up. There's leaves, there's sticks, there's brush, there's all these things. And when you're thinking about these animals, so these animals that not only do hibernation and brumation, they need all of these different natural materials in order to do what they're supposed to do. So if they're meant to brumate, they need a safe place to go hide. Snakes and turtles and things like that, or like box turtles, they need a place to go hide in the debris, so they'll be safe while they're in that state of brumation. For animals like we talked about here today, they may need to make a nice den. So keeping areas with natural debris is a really good thing. And a lot of times, especially if we're living in a suburban environment, we want to rake up all those leaves and clean up all those sticks and get rid of them. But did you know, especially a lot of insects, they have natural things that they do in the leaf litter every fall. So I've got a few pictures showing you some of the insects, like bumblebees, which burrow just below the soil to wait out the winter. It's the queens that do. So they're going to provide the next generation in the spring. The woolly bear caterpillar also burrows beneath fallen leaves, and they need that cover. And then the Luna moth also overwinters as a cocoon in fall leaves. And so these are animals that depend on those leaves. So if you want to leave the leaves for them, it's very beneficial to those animals. But also, if you can't, even if you're just piling them up somewhere else or moving them to a different location so that animals can use it, it's better than it going into a landfill, which is what a lot of leaves end up going, is into a landfill. So that's really valuable. Even if you just have a yard, you can be creating habitat for some animals during winter. Something that we posted on Wednesday was what our intern Shay did. She built hibernaculums here at the Nature Center. And so a hibernaculum is a place where animals can winter. So if you think about a bear in a cave, that cave is that bear's hibernaculum. So there are natural hibernaculums, but you can also build a hibernaculum as well, just by building up brush piles and letting it sit for animals to use it to hide in during winter. You can also do what Shay did, which is she actually dug down, made a hole, filled it in with all kinds of debris, like tubes and bricks and sticks and things like that, covered it up with bush piles, so like pieces of, we had pieces of privet that were cut down and sticks and limbs and things like that, piled it all up and put dirt and stuff around it to help insulate it, and that is a perfect place for animals to go and hide. So that's something that you can make in your very own yard and see what critters come to use it this winter. There are lots of plans for building a hibernaculum online, all different kinds of ways. And so if you don't want to dig a hole, you can actually find other things to do to build something for animals to use during winter. So hopefully you learned some things. Do we have any questions from anyone? Hopefully you learned some things about animals' strategies over winter and some of the animals that call Alabama home and use these resources in different ways and have different strategies for surviving winter and a lack of resources. And I just want to remind you that since next week is a holiday week, we are not going to be doing the live Naturalist chat next Friday. So we hope that you will spend that day enjoying some time with friends and family and be safe during this holiday season. And we will see you the week after that, and we'll start again. If you have any questions about this topic, please leave it in the comments. We'll answer them the best that we can. And if you like this video, please like and share so that we know you like it. All right, see you next time.